Welcome to the Be Student Podcast, and thank you for joining me. Today, I have the privilege of talking to Arnaldo Oliveras. He is the CEO of 180 Commercial Real Estate Advisors, a licensed brokerage operating right here in Central Florida and Puerto Rico. Arnaldo has also been recognized by the U.S. Congress as a distinguished leader in Central Florida during Hispanic Heritage Month, has served as the chair of the Central Florida Metro Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and has been the vice chair of the Rollins College Museum of Art. We are thrilled to have him with us today to talk about his superpower, which is relationships and family. And we hope that you're going to learn how to be a master practitioner of playing the long game to convert customers into friends and repeat business. So let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, Arnaldo. I'm so glad that you're with us today. Of course, we just heard about your incredibly impressive bio as a civic leader and a successful entrepreneurial leader. But I really want to pick at some of the things that I think make you different and supersized in how you approach the world of business. And that's family. I see you express your identity within your family, certainly the family of origin back in Puerto Rico. But I watched you come to Central Florida and build a family here. And I've said before, to know you and be your friend is to feel like you're my family member. You're someone I could call from the ER. I don't know if you know that, but
absolutely.
I love the way we've talked a little bit on this podcast already about the power of loyalty. And I want our young listeners to think about how important loyalty is, because we hear from young business leaders, they want to move from transactional work to transformational work. And of course, that comes through relationships. Right. And my experience, I'm sure your experience, is that when you take care of your relationships, the business walks in on its own 2 feet. You don't have to really work for it, right?
Absolutely.
So can you tell us maybe about your origin story with respect to family? And then I'd like to look at how you approach the world of business by being a family member to your partners.
Perfect.
That's a lot to cover from the beginning.
Well, in regards to family, family is extremely important for me and my wife. We are obviously very family oriented, and we cherish our own. We also are blessed to have friends that we consider family. So we friendship for us it's handled like those are the family members that you get to choose. And I like for our friends to interact with us, and we're always doing something with them. I mean, it's really it's although it's you're always doing something, it's meaningful. Mm-hmm. And we enjoy it. In regards of that approach being tailored to my practice, our clients are our friends. Our clients do not feel brokered. We listen. We have their interest in obviously in mind, and we are extremely ethical and extremely transparent. And we are results oriented.
You know, my mom worked in residential real estate back in the 90s, and she used to say, buyers are liars, which meant that it was the job of the agent to go deeper beyond what the client said they wanted into really knowing them and understanding what they really need, which they themselves might not be able to express. Do you feel like the relationships you've built with your clients enable you to sort of have X-ray vision about what they say they need versus what you know they really need as an expert in that area?
Absolutely. Going on to 23 years now in this business, at the beginning of my career, it was really challenging to get the entirety of the scope of what the client needed. And not only what the client needed, but what if the client was launchpad ready for what they wanted to achieve.
Maybe sometimes they're over their skis.
Sometimes. But we when I approach a transaction, it's all about listening, and listening with empathy, and listening with having all of the resources and all of the elements in the table. I have a major defect, and it's that when I am listening, although I'm actively listening, half of my brain is already outlining the scope of work, and with that, sometimes you make an assessment that you will have to tweak later on. But our clients, at the beginning of my career, going back to that, it was a little bit more challenging. Obviously, that will change with culture. So the interview process and the whole schematics of the deal may be different in our practice in Mexico City.
So wait, frame for our listeners where you practice: Mexico City, Madrid,
Puerto Rico,
Puerto
and
Rico,
Central Florida.
and Central Florida.
Right.
Okay,
those are our markets. Some of our clients actually have very diverse backgrounds, so they have very diverse needs, and you have to address them very diversely. We're not only bilingual; we are bicultural.
I love that. I love that because I've lived in 2 English-speaking cultures. And there is so much more to it than language. Language is the key that unlocks the
Right.
biculturalism. But talk to us about biculturalism and what that means to you, because I know that you switch between cultures all day long, every single day, because you have calls to all these markets that are primarily Spanish speaking, and then Central Florida, which is somewhat Spanish speaking, but even has those are different cultural identities throughout the Spanish speaking world. Madrid, Mexico City are not alike, right? Those are
Right.
very different cultures. Talk to us about biculturalism.
Well, you'll be amazed because in Mexico, when we practice in Mexico City or any other international market, typically we are catering to clients that are obviously from Mexico, and in turn could very well be from Mexican or Mexican descendants. When I operate here in Central Florida, which is Central Florida is home, you get a melting pot. So you get entrepreneurs from Brazil, hedge funds from London. You get a group of investors from Colombia. So it's really diverse. I have to say, we have positioned ourselves into a brand that assists clients or other national names into expansion. So in essence, we are real estate brokers. But we are advisors. So our end game obviously is not only to safeguard our clients' interest and goals and exceed those, but also at the end of the day is the real estate component of it. But we are problem solvers. So one thing that strikes me as different of my practice is when a client it's making inroads into, let's say, Puerto Rico or Central Florida, the real estate component is one of many. So we, as problem solvers, we connect them with different professionals that they will need in order to get their project ready to go.
Mm-hmm. So when I hear you talking, and I've watched you work, I have 3 ironclad rules of business, and one of them is play the long game. You are a very patient relationship builder, and we met several years ago, and I watched you just listen, just sit back and listen and show up. One of the reasons probably we're here today is you started bringing my team donuts from Krispy Kreme that were themed in Halloween-themed colors.
Are they delicious?
They're 100% delicious. I'm probably still wearing them, if you know what I mean. But, there was just a quiet, respectful, I'm just going to be here, and I'm just going to support you and your team, and we're just going to grow a partnership, but we're not going to rush it.
Right.
And again, going back to our young listeners who want everything right now. They want to be CEO now. They want to be a rainmaker now. They want to be doing deals now. And I hear you talking about the early stage of your career when it was hard because you didn't have the relationship capital that you have now. You didn't have the experience of studying so many clients and understanding that they have greater needs than they might even be able to express at the moment. Or you've watched enough deals kind of take twists and turns where you're like, I know what's happening next, and we're going to have to bring in the lawyers to help us on this or whatever. So I love that you have this sensibility about slowing it down to speed it up. And
Absolutely.
I feel like because of your methodology of relationship building and being very patient, we have a deeper connection as friends now because of that. Is that a conscious choice for you, or is that just your disposition? How did you come to be a master practitioner of playing the slow and long game on relationships and business?
Well, learning the hard way. Absolutely. So I have the privilege and honor of being a mentor for young entrepreneurs that are making inroads into commercial real estate. And I have to start by saying relationship first, transaction second. And you can't microwave your way to the top.
Oh my gosh. Let's say that again. You can't microwave your way to the top.
You absolutely can't. So you need to make sure that you have the resources to to serve your client well. So that will entail to have patience, market knowledge. You can't emanate desperation because you need this deal to make ends meet, or I mean, you just can't be transactional. One of the reasons why I have a small team is because I curate them, and you don't have to have a lot of experience. Actually, I prefer it that way because you can mold them to your business culture.
So you hire for values. I
Correct.
hire for values first, skills second.
100%.
Yeah, I can train up whatever I need to train up, but I need the values right.
100%.
Yeah.
To the point that some clients want me to interview their hires at one point. So I had to like, hey, I'll help you out. But
I do real estate, not HR.
Right. So a big turnoff is when a young professional comes to me and he basically asks questions, and at the end he's like, well, Mike, when you ask them what's your main goal, and obviously they're going to tell you, well, be a team player and top producer, yada yada yada, and that's all great. But then when they say, well, when I ask more tangible goals, what are they? Well, I want to make X amount year one and get a Maserati. For me, that's the biggest turnoff because you're going to be transactional. When you start your own business, regardless if it's commercial real estate or not, you need to be discipline driven. As it pertains to my industry, for instance, don't spend the commission you haven't earned. Save for the rainy days. Be disciplined. Also, show respect to your clients. You can do that in many different ways. Obviously, you need to drive results. That's your goal, and service. But show respect to your client. How do I show respect to my clients? Not only by being result driven, being thorough in the research, and providing service, I always make the transaction elegant. I don't know if that will make a lot of sense, but yes, there is elegance in the transaction. You need to take care of your client first, but you need to make sure that the culture of that individual transaction fits everyone.
And that's part of your brand. So that consistent, look at how you're dressed, right? The consistency of elegance being part of the transmission of your brand. The success of a branding experience is consistency. I've never not had an elegant experience with you, even when you're casually dressed, even when you don't even just bring us regular Krispy Kreme donuts. You bring us the Scooby-Doo Halloween ones or the Christmas ones with the elf sweater on them. There's an elegance to everything that you do. And I think I love how basically commercial real estate is sales, but you talked about the importance of problem solving.
Right.
And as you were talking, I was thinking about how I used to work in sales, and I had a biotechnology product for HIV. And I remember when I went away on maternity leave, I had customers send me cards, and I even had a customer make my baby's crib bumper set for me. And I thought, oh my gosh, my job was to sell stuff to you guys. Like, we all know that, right? Like, I was in here selling stuff to you. But I felt like I made it because I became a person that they knew and felt like was a friend because I was standing next to them solving the problem they had, which is we have these very sick patients and we've got to get them care they can afford in a way they can receive it, et cetera, et cetera. And so for me, that was the Maserati, was feeling like my clients were my friends, but more importantly, they felt like I was their friend.
Bingo.
And that, as you're talking, for me is the Maserati, because that means business is just going to keep walking in the door on its own 2 feet, right? So then you get a reputation for elegance, problem solving, relationships. But I'm going to go to the other piece, which Laura Walda talks about a lot. It's just fun to be with you.
Absolutely.
You're funny.
Thank you.
And, if people write you off as too quiet to be like a rascal, they've gone down the wrong path, right? You are one of the funniest people I know, and you make doing business fun. So there's all these key components to the relationship that include incredible loyalty, great problem solving, hard work, the elegance piece, but it's fun, right? And so I think these are all relationship forward things that we haven't even talked about the mechanics of the commercial real estate market. And I don't know if you want to, we can, but I think that's the differentiator. Because how many commercial real estate agents do you think there are in Central Florida?
A lot.
Thousands, right? And how do you differentiate? This is how.
Thank you for that, Betsy. And business has to be fun. But at the same time, isn't it wonderful when you are at home thinking about, hey, what a nice detail my client had with me, or hey, what a great text my client sent me. And that, for me, at the end of the day, it's part of the entirety of a successful service-oriented firm. Mm-hmm. I can honestly and comfortably say that close to maybe 89, 92% of our clientele, it's referral-based. It's completely referral-based. And you earn that with results, with your sequence and your process. Our sequence is completely different than the norm. And obviously with that rapport, you can't fake that. Mm-mm. You just can't walk in a room and say, oh, and just fake it. No. But do you want to know how I started solving problems?
I do. Our listeners do too, I'm sure.
This is something that just recently got published, and I really was really shy about it. But I used to go to this school in Puerto Rico. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico, and I was around maybe 10. And it was a Catholic school, Marista, Colegio Marista. And they had, sorry for those who attended, they had a very dismal options of candy in the cafeteria.
Well, I think I know where this is going.
Dismal, Betsy, like very. I think more
like those
nutritious
hard candies that your grandmother unwraps at the symphony, something like that.
I think we were lucky if there was a Kit Kat bar somewhere. So I started noticing and going to my friend's house on the weekends and yada yada yada. It's like, there's something I can do here. And I used to go to school with 2 backpacks, one with books and one with candy. The good kind.
Okay, what's the good kind of candy?
The back in the day, Jolly Ranchers, bubble gum, the real good kind.
The stuff that you can't eat now in our age group because it'll break your teeth.
Right. and I was at that age selling candy from my backpack in the cafe in the lunch break.
Did your mom know you were doing this?
At the beginning she didn't, but then she encouraged me.
Oh, good. Okay.
So one of those days, I remember vividly. It was a Thursday, and I was looking forward to the weekend and spending my earnings, and I made a glorious sales day that day.
So, like, how much money were you making a day? Like net $10 or more net?
No. 20, $23 a day.
Oh my God.
What
were you doing with all your money?
I'll get to that in a minute. So the end of the lunch break came about, and some of our teachers were we call them hermanos, which is clerical, clergy. religious.
Yeah.
The equal of a nun.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously Catholic school, it was very mission oriented and give and contribute. And we had a small kind of like a banking alcancía. I don't know how to call it in
Like a
English.
little
Like a little
money
piggy.
box?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a piggy bank, correct. And I remember Hermano Balbino saying, well, today we have a contribution made by Arnaldo Oliveras. And he grabbed the money and put it in the missions. It's called the missions jar. And I
You
was
got
like,
voluntold to tithe
yeah.
all
And
that
I was
money?
like, but that's, and I was like, so, and then obviously he was making a point. It was not allowed to sell candy in the school. So I got smarter. The next day, I brought one backpack, less books. And the earnings, I distributed in different pockets. So the change and the small bills, the front, the other in the back.
Why do I see you wearing like one of those coin things that they used to wear at the
It-
ballpark to make change?
It would have been, hey, it would have been 90 degrees. I will still have my big jacket. And but that's how I started at a young age. Fast forward to when I was like 14, my brother started a Christmas selling venture, and I was proud to be a part of it as selling Christmas trees. And I noticed that these families came in and their kids wouldn't help putting the Christmas tree up. I was like, you know what? If you give me $3, I not only would I put the tree in the car, I'll tie it and I'll give you a little packet of tree food. And $3 here, $3 there, $3 there. So,
but that little packet was the differentiator, right? So we're trying to help people think about how they stand out in a sea of mortgage brokers, realtors, commercial real estate advisors, whatever it might be. The little packet of tree food was the kicker.
right.
The little lanyap, the little something extra. That's really smart.
If you look at it that way, absolutely. It's that's like the value added, but it's the service. It's the fact that you didn't have to touch the tree and get all that resin in your fingers.
Yeah.
I was there for that, and I will have to do that for you for the price of $3. So that's how I started. Fast forward, college, then banking, and then commercial real estate.
Oh my gosh. And then, so you grew up in Puerto Rico. When did you move to Central Florida, and what year?
We moved in 2017, around 3 months prior to Hurricane Maria. Yes,
Wow.
we did.
That must have been really hard for you
Yes.
to see how Puerto Rico was devastated when you guys were here.
The hardest part also was not knowing from our families for a long time. Communication and not being able to get on a plane and go. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, I know that you get on a plane and go almost every Sunday to have lunch with your mother in Puerto Rico.
I try. At least once a week.
This is every boy mom's dream, that you would fly home for lunch with your mom once a week. How did that come to be? Because this is one of the really strong ways I think you express this value of family. So did she say, I'm going to need you here every Sunday, or did you volunteer? Because I've seen you go the extra mile with your nieces. I know you interviewed boyfriends of your nieces. Let them know what the family expectations were. Talk about that process a little bit.
Well, before I go into my mom, my nephews are very dear to me. They're I mean, it's the best aspect, one of the best aspects of my life, my personal life. I mean, I got to babysit them when they were little. I get to hang out with them. And best of all, none of the heartache, none of the pain, and no tuition.
No, you got it all figured out. This whole TO program, you've got it mastered. Okay.
They're balanced and very good individuals. I love them. But with my mom has been the key, most important part of my life, both personally and in business.
How old were you when you recognized that? Because I imagine when you were 16, it wasn't probably top of your mind to be like, how can I go hang out with my mom?
You know what? I wouldn't hang out with my mom at 16, but I was always near.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. She she's great. She's great. She's an entrepreneur at heart. I think my dad and her did a wonderful team, business wise, and in both in love and business.
Mm.
And but I was blessed. I am blessed with learning from them. I learned entrepreneurship mainly from my mom and life experiences, and obviously education, and my mentors. I have a network of mentors they're very dear to me. But then I learned more of the compassionate, the empathic, the emotional aspect from my dad. At home, mom was the law. That was the heart.
Oh,
So
wow.
I would obviously know this and go to my dad, hey dad, can I go this place on Saturday? Be like, ask your mom. I go to my mom, mom, dad said it's okay. Can I go? And then she'd probably say no. Funny story. On summers, I used to go to work with my dad. My dad used to have a electronics distribution, the pins for the turntables and other stuff. And we will get on his van and we will travel all island wide. And it was a Friday, and obviously Fridays were paydays. His clients will give him will pay for his services, his products. And I wanted this Spider-Man walkie-talkie. At the time, there was a very famous toy store in Puerto Rico called KB Toys at Plaza
I
Las
remember
Americas.
KB Toys. Yeah, okay.
Plaza Las Americas was a huge shopping center in Puerto Rico, dear friends and clients to this day. So my father parked in front of the center and he said, here's $100. If the walkie-talkie it's priced at $12, this is how much I need to give you. So of course, no problem. I walked into KB Toys with $100 bill. I was like maybe 8 or 9. And I looked at the walkie-talkies and I was like, forget that. The Nintendo games are here. The candy stuff is here. And I remember buying like $10 in in bubble gum. So I walked into my dad's car with a video game and the candies and all that. And he's like, where's the walkie-talkie? Oh, I changed my mind. I just wanted this. Can I have it? And he said, Arnaldo, your mom's going to kill me. So, she's going to understand. She's going to understand. And I knew how my mom thought. So what was Arnaldo doing in the car? Unwrapping the video games. Because if you unwrap them, you can't return them. So I get home. And my mom says, what's all this? Go and return it. Mom, I opened them. I'm so sorry. I thought you were going to be okay with this. I opened them. And she's like, okay, well, you're still going to have to return everything else. And
what is she going to do when she hears this podcast?
She's probably going to laugh. Every time I visit her, I ask her, you remember one story when I was young? And this one will be a favorite. And so I ended up returning the unopened goods and keeping the rest and working to repay the rest.
Well, that's one of the reasons why you turned out so well. I love that story. I just love it. It's interesting. We're studying a lot of cultural forces that are hurting our country and our world right now. And social fragmentation is one of them. And we're hearing about an epidemic of adult-child estrangement from their families. I think close to 30% of families have an estrangement of an adult child from their parents. And you're flying to Puerto Rico every Sunday to have lunch with your mom.
I try, yeah. Well, the time is the only resource that you never know how much of a balance you have. And after losing my father and seeing how my mom's health has declined, my priorities shifted. And time is the only thing we don't know what we have.
My mom used to say it's the only, it's money's the only renewable resource. You never get time back. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's for me. I don't see it as a burden to get on a plane and go land in the morning and have lunch with my mom and come back in the evening. because those are the memories I get.
Yeah.
And that's the time I have with her.
So going back to this way that young people could sort of develop some hacks from you, thinking about family, turning clients into family, so it's relationship driven instead of transaction driven. How did you come to be a master family practitioner? Did that come from your mom, your dad? What were the norms and values that were expressed in your family that you understood this is how you do family?
I think from both. And I think also culturally speaking, uh, obviously I started my career in Puerto Rico. Business is done differently. In my line of work, business starts with the relationship. A lot of business happens not in an office, but a table,
Yeah.
a restaurant, or in an afternoon, and you have to actively listen. So I think that that's how this organically was instilled in my practice. I also, this is gonna sound very cliche, but it's the golden rule. Treat others like you will like them to treat you. So if somebody's trying to sell me something, I automatically disengage. So yeah, those are basically the principles that I.
What's it going to take to put you in this timeshare?
Oh Lord.
Okay, so let's shift gears, expanding this idea of family into community, right? So a community is a type of family model, and it's probably the family you choose, right?
Right.
And you're really good at community. I know you're a huge, strong advocate and leader in the arts, having supported at the board level the Rollins Museum of Art and other arts endeavors. We count on you to be one of the leading voices in our Art is Good Business advocacy program.
Thank you.
But you've also served the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce as its chair. You've built up these circles of influence that are micro communities within the greater Orlando region. What's your approach to community building? Because we see people clinging to their screens, not leaving their homes for work, not leaving their homes, and then feeling anxious and lonely and isolated and maybe depressed. And what would be your top tip for how you go from, I don't go out and do anything, to what would be step one for someone to think about how to build community from someone who really knows how to do it like you?
You have to get engaged. You have to get engaged and have your ear to the community and know what's missing and what the community needs and how you can fulfill that. Not from a business standpoint. Not like that. How can you give back? You need to give back. And if you don't have that cultural or that specific, I don't want to call it skill set, but
like a value of give
right,
first,
thank
get
you.
later.
Like a
Yeah.
value, you might not be very successful. So my advice would be, let's take the chamber product, for instance. If you go to a chamber of commerce and you become a member and you just sit down and wait for leads and businesses to go your way, you're sadly mistaken. That product does not work like that, at least in my experience.
It's like a gym membership.
Exactly.
You have to actually go and work out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you basically have to be engaged. You have to listen. And if you meet someone in one of those events, don't start with the sale. That should be like step 3 or 4. Okay. Another thing is get engaged within the chamber. Assist, help. Chambers sometimes run with a limited amount of staffing, and they are being their time has to split in 30 different roles, and hey, be appreciative. How can I help you? Bring them donuts. Be a community person with them. Don't be the broker or the attorney or the marketing services provider. Be a community member. and business organically will just flow.
Mm-hmm.
I know it may sound utopic or mystical, but believe you me, that's the way it goes.
Karma in, karma out. Yeah, and you were a volunteer in our organization. You helped with a number of things. I won't go into all of them, but volunteering your time and expertise at a very elevated level to help shape strategy for our organization. And sometimes I feel bad about how much time we take from a leader like you. But to hear that it's valuable for you on the back end means something to me too. So I love that slow and steady approach to relationship building, and then the business will take care of itself. And I think that's not the way our world works right now. We've got Amazon. If I have to wait more than 2 days for an Amazon anything, I'm like, come on, what's going on? Right? We're so used to instant gratification. And so we just think, okay, I'm going to apply the instant gratification model to business. And oh, wait, what's wrong? And it's interesting now to hear young people say, I want to move from transactional into relational, but they don't know how to do it.
Right. Well, Amazon, it's a great example. However, Amazon, I view it more as a product. You need X, you buy, you receive. That's it. When you are in the service industry, you can't have that transactional approach.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't know what your goals are, how am I going to show you a space or sell you a territory when I don't know exactly what's your demographic, what do you need, etc. One of the things we do in our business is we have to sell Orlando. We have to sell Puerto Rico. Funny anecdote, I had a client that he was torn between Atlanta and Orlando. Through data, facts, we were able to earn their representation into Orlando. So Orlando is a wonderful place, has a lot to offer, but you only get to that point when you listen to that particular client's need. And when you do your work based on research, data, and ethically. For us, ethics are not another hashtag.
Mm-hmm.
We live by those.
Ethics are not another hashtag. I love it. Well, that's part of the elegance. That's part of the family feeling. That's part of the reliable, repeatable experience of working with you. And it's one of the reasons why I feel like you're my family. We spend Christmas Eve together now, and thank you. And I appreciate that business made us family, but that we get to be friends as family now too. And I really appreciate your sharing your sensibilities about how you do what you do so well. Hopefully some of our listeners can take some tips and tricks away from this conversation. Thank you for all you do for the community in Central Florida and beyond. And thank you for the way you show up for me as a friend and colleague and partner.
And thank you for everything you do for our members and our community and everything you do as a whole.
Well, thanks for spending time with us today.
Thank you.